We on? I do not see us on YouTube. There we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our town hall, July 25th. We are super excited that all of you are here, and we are so excited to have you back for another town hall with Jeff Galloway and a special guest today. If you like this program here today, we want to make sure that you are involved with all of the other programs and things that we have going on right now. So not only do we have a fun and informative show planned for all of you today, but we also have a lot of motivating and fun sessions that are happening throughout the rest of the summer, and lots of upcoming events, things like an exciting collaboration with Charge Running, the Charge GALLOWAY Training Program, where you can get live coaching for 5K and a half marathon. Jeff has launched a second round of his YouFit classes. We have upcoming running schools that are happening, the beach retreat at Blue Mountain Beach, Florida, a Carmel retreat planned for later in the fall, as well as our ongoing e-coaching and customized coaching. So of course, all of that can be found on the jeffgalloway.com website, as well as the Facebook page. So we love that you're here, and we love to see you, not just in this town hall, but in all of that we have to offer to the Galloway community as well. We have Jeff today with a very special guest, so I'm super excited, and I cannot wait to get this town hall started. While you are all here joining us and watching, make sure you say hello, let us know where you're joining from so that we can celebrate you and shout you out. And with that being said, Jeff, would you like to get started?
Yes, Kelly, and thank you. First of all, I really want to dedicate this show to the memory of Larry Snowden. Larry and his wife, Suzelle, were the co-founders of our Cincinnati GALLOWAY Training Program and have introduced literally thousands of people to our method. He loved coaching. He loved helping people. He was truly a wonderful person, and we miss Larry. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest today. He has served as the Chief Running Officer of Runner's World magazine. He has run a marathon on all seven continents, which very few people have done. He has been a part of just literally thousands of different running events, including the Mount Kilimanjaro Marathon and the Bear Buns Fun Run. He is Running USA Hall of Champions inductee for promoting running, and just one of my best friends, Bart Yasso. Bart, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jeff. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And I got to thank you because I was one of the people that benefited from what you've done for our sport. You know, in my 31 years at Runner's World, we watched this sport explode. And you were one of those people welcoming people in, giving them literally opening up the door for so many people, giving them the avenue to move into the sport of running. So I personally have to thank you. I'm excited to be on this town hall.
Well, thank you. And I want to start out, if you wouldn't mind, telling the story when you were running at Big Sur and you ran by this guy early in the race, and he really scoffed at you taking a walk break. Tell that story.
Yeah. So I was at Big Sur, which I used to go to all the time, and you were there many years, Jeff. I don't know how many times I was at that race, 25, something like that. But anyway, I ran it, not every year, but and I remember one year I wasn't going to run it because the week before I did some 50K race somewhere, and a week before that I was traveling like crazy. So I thought, I just need like a chill weekend. But the race director back then, Wally, said, "Oh, you got to run it. It's going to be a nice day. Here's your bib number." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not going to run it." And he insisted I ran it. So I said, okay. And then when I talked to you later that day, Jeff, the day before the race, you said, "Just do the walk run thing. You'll be fine." And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So I committed to walking 40 seconds at every mile. And early in that, literally at 1 mile, I started walking, and this guy called me a loser and he gave me a hard time. And I did pass him a couple miles later and then walked again, and he passed me again and gave me a hard time. But I did beat the guy by 34 minutes because I saw him at the after I finished, I was doing some race announcing and I saw him come in. So I personally went down to greet him and reminded him that I beat him by 34 minutes doing walk breaks. But he was really making fun of me. But I ran 2:54 on the Big Sur course doing walking every mile. It was pretty easy. I didn't walk mile 26, but every other mile marker from 1 to 25, I walked for 40 seconds every mile and still ran 2:54. I was kind of beat up and, it just helped me out. And then I was like, okay, this stuff really works. I'm convinced. That day convinced me. I never doubted it, but I just never really did it in a race till that day. And man, when I did that, I said, okay, if I wasn't doing walk breaks, I think I would have run 5 to 10 minutes slower than I ran that day. So I was convinced.
Well, you left one important fact of that story out, which you told me immediately after the race. And that fact was that when this guy at mile number 1, what was, said you're a loser by taking a walk break, what you told me is that you turned to him and said, I'm Bart Yasso of Runner's World, and if you beat me today, I will write you a check for $300.
I did say that to him.
And then you said, but I'm not going to have to write that check because you're not taking walk breaks.
I did say that. And
that's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, because I knew I was going to beat him in the race. I knew he was in way over his head right away. I could tell by his breathing at 1 mile. So I knew it was a safe bet. But that's not my style. But he was so mean to me. I thought, okay, I'm going to straighten this guy out. I mean, he didn't say like, is there something wrong that you're taking a walk break? I mean, he just ridiculed me right from the beginning. And I just thought it was crazy because I did it the proper way. Like I walked off to the side, did my 40 seconds and then get to the next mile and I'd hit my watch and, I had it set for 40 seconds and it just worked like a charm.
Well, you have had so many amazing experiences and I'd really like for you to maybe isolate one of your favorite fun experience in running.
Yeah, Jeff, when you get involved in a sport and someone like you have been doing it for 60 plus years, and so I'm a rookie at 43 years, you think back and think, okay, it was fun to win races years ago. I cannot lie, it was fun to do, but in the end, it doesn't mean anything. It's the people you meet, the places you go. And my most fond memories, I didn't know it at the time, but I had this great photo. I'm running the Rome Marathon in Italy, and my mom came along on the trip, and she was in her mid 70s at the time, and so it was a big deal for her. And she had an audience with the Pope, which was one of the biggest things in her life outside of having kids and being married. And it was a life-changing thing for her. So I run the Rome Marathon and, my mom's been to many of my races and she was used to me racing a race. And so she was at Trevi Fountain and I stopped and hung out with her during the race. And I had my picture with my arm around her and she's like, you're in a race. What are you doing? I said, Mom, it's cool. I'm going to get back out there running. Don't worry about it. And then I saw her at mile 20 near the Spanish Steps and I stopped and hugged her and talked to her. And those are the memories. That's the stuff I remember in the big, when you look back. And the other stuff, doing all the running fast years ago or winning races doesn't mean anything in the end. And when I retired from Runner's World, after 31 years there, I had a lot of stuff in my office. I mean, my office was packed with all the places I'd been to, all the memorabilia I had, all this stuff. My office was just boxes and boxes of stuff on the wall. So, everybody said, what are you going to take? What are you going to do with all this stuff when I was retiring? And I said, I don't know. So I left a lot of it there and gave some stuff that I thought other people should have. And the only 2 things that I took that I kept to myself was I connected with 2 people that, you never know that you connect with these people, but they're family is the ones that reached out to me. But this young kid from upstate New York who was told he couldn't run on his high school team because he had a mental disability. And his dad called me and asked me to fight for this kid with the school so that they could let him run on the team. And, so I called the school. I said, you can't legally do this to this kid. Like, he's a student in your school. Yes, he has a mental disability. He had the IQ of a 5-year-old. His brain never developed after the age of 5, but the kid could run. So the school caved in, and he was able to run. And then I met his dad and his brother and this young man at some road races, and I got him entered in the New York City Marathon, just fun stuff like that. But this kid always sent me letters, and they were written like a 5-year-old, even though at the time he was in his 20s. Big letters, like font this big, and he always called me his running hero, Bart. And I saved all those letters, and that's one of the, I got rid of all these files. I didn't get rid of that file. That's stored in my home. And then this other, it's only an electronic file that I have from this woman who used to come to my talks at races and bring her son. And, you know what it's like, Jeff. You're looking at a big group of people. So it's hard to single out people, but you try to meet everyone. And I never knew that this young kid really tuned into me. He's autistic, but his mom would bring him. And then, so I got an email one day from this woman, and she said, this is what my son said. And so she told me, she said, I talk to him every night. I try to get him to come out of his shell and tell me what's going on in his world. And he very seldom talks. But he said one day he starts blurting out, and she grabs a pen and paper. She's going to write all the stuff down. And what he says is he wants to be Bart Yasso. And he wished Bart Yasso was my age so he could be my friend and all this stuff. And God, she sent me this email. It really tore me up, because in the email, the young kid said that, he has no friends and nobody likes him because he's autistic and he knows he's different and all this stuff. And he said, everybody likes Bart Yasso. He goes up there and talks and everyone hangs out with him. And why can't I be like that? And it really was heartbreaking. But in the end, he really said to his mom, I want to be Bart Yasso. And then when the last thing he said to her was, I want to be like Bart Yasso, but I don't want to do all that running stuff that he does. So it kind of was funny in the end, but it was really sad to see this. But it made me happy that I connected with this kid, that he really saw what I did, and that's what he wanted to do. So I did go down to their city and run with the mom and the son. He does run, but he doesn't want to run marathons or Badwater or whatever. He knows the stuff that I did. But it was really, these connections that we do, and we may never hear from these people. There's so many people like that we never hear from, but there were a couple families that did, reach out to me and tell me the story of their son, what I meant to them, which is that stuff, man, it just, that's what it's all about. The other stuff is,
You're so right.
What it is, but the stuff that really means the most to you, the stuff that you really remember and cling to and are proud of, is that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of this is because you're such a great ambassador of our sport and our activity. Could you describe an experience that sort of changed the way that you looked at running in some way?
Yeah, I never thought I could be a good runner. My older brother thought I could be a good runner. I didn't believe it. And then, I said, I realized that, okay, you got to do the hard work, and I was running with some local guys, names that you're familiar with, Bud Coates and Mark Weber, who were really good runners. And I thought, okay, I got to do what they do. So I looked at them as my running icons. And then when I started at Runner's World, a gentleman who's a personal friend of ours, Amby Burfoot, I just looked at Amby, and he just seemed to do it all well. He was a great writer, great person, great connector. He just seemed to do it all well. And Amby was the guy that I really hung on to as my mentor, to say, okay, I got to do what he, got to do well at everything, not just running. Whatever I'm going to do, I got to think like Amby and do it well, and do it in a broad, literally landscape, not just running, like speaking engagement, everything that's involved with our sport. And that's what I felt I I did, and that's who I used as my mentor, Amby Burfoot. What a guy! You know, was really fast in his younger days, still running at age 70. He's going to be 74 in a couple weeks. And, you know, personal friend of yours for many, many years. You guys were in college together. But Amby just seemed to, you know, he just seemed to do it all well. And I was so impressed. You know, I could never write as good as he can and never could run as fast as he can, but I tried to do the best I could to simulate what Amby did in his life.
That is so true. Amby and I connected early in college. We were roommates there, and he set the standard at really everything that he did, including winning the Boston Marathon as a collegiate athlete, the only collegiate athlete that's ever won the Boston Marathon. None of us had scholarships. We went there because of the academics, and Amby excelled, and he continues to do so. And so do you in your ambassadorial role. I'd like to have maybe a little perspective from you on what you see as the current state of running in the U.S.
Yeah, so right now we're in a, you know, prior to this virus, to COVID-19, the sport was booming more than ever. I mean, we were really at a high level. And, you know, you and I have been around, you know, we've had what we called running booms, and then things settled down a little, and then another running boom, and then things settled a bit. But we're really on a high level with our sport of running. And then the virus came along, and it seemed the virus has only affected racing. It really hasn't affected running. You know, most of the people certainly in the US could run throughout this pandemic. There were other parts of the world that weren't able to run. Like I did a lot of Zoom calls with runners in Italy and Spain, and they weren't allowed to leave their house. That was a different story. I think in the US we were pretty lucky. Most areas where people were allowed to go out of their home and do some running. But the actual group runs, which is something you and I love to do, and you know, the organization of races it's just dismantled. I mean, it's really hard to see this happening. And but I see the running community coming together again. You know, I saw them kind of like, you know, splinter a little bit. People were kind of mad at races, and you know, they weren't into the virtual races. But now I see people into the virtual races, including me. And you know, they're looking at what's happening in a big picture, not looking at, oh my God, you know, I'm entered in 4 races and I canceled all 4. Well, there's a lot of people in that same boat, but you got to look long term. What's going to happen? And I believe our sport's going to come back stronger than ever, whether that's 6 months from now, 4 months from now, or a year from now. We don't know. I think the vaccine is what's going to change everything. But I see people staying connected through these virtual races, through Zoom training classes, through a bunch of different ways, just being creative. But the bottom line is just being a community. Like, you know, don't hold anything against anybody because this was canceled or we can't do that. Let's stay together. Eventually we're going to get back out there. Eventually group runs will start and all the stuff that we're so used to doing. Things may be different in big road races. You know, they may have more of a different staging areas, maybe finish on 3, you know, have a race finish on 3 streets right next to each other, so that finish lines aren't just in one small area and get so crowded. So maybe creative ideas that race directors are going to have to do to accommodate, you know, and I'm talking about the larger races once we get back to the old days of running, which, you know, again, we're going to go back, and I think the sport will be stronger than ever. And I think a lot of people are going to run faster than ever, because some people really took a break when the pandemic started, because everyone was so confused about what's really going on. But then there were a lot of people that had a lot more free time because they were working from home or weren't working, because so many people lost their jobs, and they were doing a lot of running. So we'll see what happens, but I'm so happy that, you know, things like this, Jeff, your town hall, and, you know, what I see a lot of charge running, what they're doing, you know, people are gathering people together and keeping us as a community. And that's the most important thing at this point. And we'll see how things shake out, as we roll along. But I promise you we'll be back to normal racing down the road someday. We'll just see how, nobody knows when, but it'll happen. And we will be a strong community, I guarantee you that.
And that is so true. We are a very strong community. You're one of the sort of pillars of our community, and I just really appreciate you being with us. We will be having some Q&A in a little bit, so
Sure.
I would like for you to stick around if you
Oh,
could.
guaranteed, yeah.
And any thing that you'd like to say right now as a summary statement?
Yeah, my tagline has always been never limit where running can take you. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, geographically. I mean, I always tell people when I came back from my first run, like I headed out the door and thought I could run a mile. And I did make it a mile. It wasn't easy. I was out of breath, and I did all the mistakes. I thought I was Jim Ryan, so I thought I should run real fast, like I saw Jim Ryan run on TV. And but I wasn't in shape, so it wasn't the right thing to do. But I did make it a mile. And I got home and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did it on like a Monday. I said, okay, I'll do it again on Wednesday. I'll do another mile, and then maybe I can do 2 miles. But I'm telling you, if somebody, when I came back from that run, would have said, hey, you're going to run on all 7 continents. You're going to travel the world. You're going to work at Runner's World Magazine for 31 years. You're going to do a town hall with Jeff Galloway. I mean, I would have told the person they were crazy, but it happened to me. So that's why I always tell people, never limit where running can take you. This sport is a very powerful sport. You never know what's around the corner, but you have to be involved to progress in this sport. And I was just, I don't know, I look back and think, was it a dream? Did it really happen? It did really happen. It feels like a dream sometimes. I never thought it could, I could get a job at Runner's World and have the type of job, like literally, if I were to write a job description for me, what I did at Runner's World would have been the job description I would write. And that's very rare where you get that, what you really want to do in life actually becomes a paid position. So I feel very lucky, and I want other people to have that same kind of life. So I want people to think, that's why I always put that out there, and don't limit yourself to just running. There's more to running. There's engagement through running clubs, running stores, whatever you're involved with. The Jeff Galloway program, just be involved and things happen. They progress.
Well, Bart, you truly have made things happen, so stick around. I'm sure there are going to be some good questions for you.
All right.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being with us, and
thank you, Jeff.
And stick around. Next, we have an exciting new program. Imagine if you are in an area where there aren't training programs going on right now. Well, that happens to be most of the United States and most of the world. But what if you could have a group that you could join with 3 times a week and prepare for a half marathon by the end of the year? Well, this is something that we've been talking with the Charge Running folks about doing, and I am very, very excited to tell you that we have put this together, and I want the 2 representatives, Amy and Betsy from Charge Running, to tell about this. So either one of you can take the lead on this. Take over, Amy and Betsy.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bart. It's just, we're a little starstruck here to be with you guys today. So thank you. We're so excited for this upcoming partnership with the Galloway training team. So essentially, I'll tell you a little bit about what Charge Running is. It's a live virtual running app where you are able to get live coaching through your headphones. And we are going to be leading our runners, our Galloway runners, through weeks of training leading up to Jeff's half marathon weekend and Barb's 5K weekend in December here in Atlanta, and also live virtually. We are going to have classes during the week to support your shorter runs during the week. We're going to have long runs on the weekend. So yes, you may be running alone right from your doorstep, but you are not alone. You are in a class full of other runners all over the country, all over the world, with the ability to chat with them through the chat, wonderful music playing, a coach, either Amy or myself or some of our other Galloway trained coaches will love on you the entire way through your training. So we are just thrilled to be part of this. So excited to launch this pretty soon.
And as Betsy said, there's going to be a live presentation on race day, December the 13th. And so you can be a part of that and receive all the energy and excitement. If you can't come, you can still do this virtually and have the feeling that you are with us, because you are.
Yeah, and Betsy, I did the charge running race on the day of the Boston Marathon. Instead of running 26.2, we ran 2.62. So it was really fun to do. Like, I was plugged in, and you know, we heard the gun go off and we started running, and you know, music going on, and then you could hear people finishing, their names being called out, and then I finished. It was really fun to do.
It is really a special way to run. It makes you feel like you are not alone and you're truly connected to these other runners, and you start to run in these runs with the same people. And you start to get to know them, and it is that great group experience. It's also really a great supplement for like when your regular groups can't meet, you know, your random Tuesdays, Wednesdays, things like that. It's a whole lot of fun. So we're going to kick that off on the 15th of August. That's going to be our first official run. And I think on the 9th, we're going to have a kickoff party.
A free kickoff party.
Yeah. So we can come and get some good information about that. We do offer a 2-week subscription, a 2-week free trial to the app, which essentially is going to get you right up to that starting point. So people can download the Charge Running app on the App Store, the Google Play Store, or hop onto chargerunning.com and take a look at it. It's really one of those things you really just try it. 2 weeks for free. You can check it out, see what it's all about. And I sure hope you come join us. We're going to have a really good time.
Yeah, there's a nice part to it, Betsy, where you can actually sign into a class and really don't have to participate. You can kind of get a feel of what's going on.
Absolutely.
You know, you're like, okay, I don't know if this is really for me. You can listen to a class and go, okay, now I get it. And then you go do a class. It really is a nice feel, because I listened to one first. That's how I did it. I tuned into like a 35-minute tempo run class, and I said, okay, this is really cool. And then I did the race, and then I've done a couple other classes. It's really fun to do.
Yeah, it'll get you revved up and ready to go. Jeff and I have been on the mic a couple of times together too. And we've got one of Jeff's magic miles in our on-demand content. So if you can't run a class live, we can put them on demand, so you can run it, you know, anytime you want. So Jeff's coached a couple classes with us. Jeff's running the app with us, and it's really a whole lot of fun. Amy
And
does
we will do more of that, Betsy, throughout the season. We've got just about 4 months to do that. And the coaches from Charge have been trained by Chris Twiggs, who is our National Training Officer of the Galloway Program. And so they're certified in coaching the Galloway way. So give it a try. It's really going to be a fun projection here. Now, Betsy, anything else that you want to add to that?
I'll jump in here, Jeff. Thanks for having us, certainly. Hey guys. I'm Coach Amy, Coach Betsy, of course. Both of us are now Galloway certified, and we are so excited to start this program. We're going to have, I don't know if Coach Betsy said this, but we're going to have actually 8 live classes during the week. So you only have 2 runs that you need to get in with this training during the week, but we're going to have 8 live classes for you guys to choose from. And then if those 8 live classes don't work, you can catch those on demand as well. We can't wait to have Jeff do more Magic Miles with us. And of course, that long run, the motivation to get out the door, the motivation to keep going when it gets tough. You know, you will have all of your Galloway teammates right there with you, even though you're running from home. And I think that's such an important thing, especially as the miles get longer and it's so hot and, you know, it's easy to stop, right? It's easy to just go, you know what, I'm just going to stop here and I'll do it again next week. But when you have a team with you, when you have a coach there and they just continue to motivate you, you are more likely to keep taking those steps forward. So we know that this whole time has really affected a lot of people, but there are ways to stay on track with your training, and Charge and Galloway, we are going to charge on with Galloway through the rest of 2020. We're going to get through the rest of this year and we're going to do it together.
And you never know if Amy will drive along and see you make sure that you're out there running. I like your
Sorry guys, I was at baseball. It was a baseball kind of day. I was like, I gotta go. It's Galloway time. So I'm just glad that I could be here.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us. And Betsy, thank you so much. And I'm sure that there are going to be some questions. So let's get right into the questions, Kelly. And if you have any questions at all, you can text them into us. So Kelly, what do we have so far?
Thank you. We have a lot of great questions of people that have been asking all week in preparation for this town hall. And so I'm just going to get started. I have a couple questions, Bart, that are very similar, one from Ann Mason and one from Angela Tierney. Both of them are asking about tips for older runners. So getting back into running at 60 years old, tips for older runners who are 70 and over. What is some piece of advice you have for them?
Well, first of all, people in their 60s are young. That's coming from someone in his mid 60s. But I would consider most people think we're older. So what I always tell people is, you know, we all slow down. It's inevitable, but you got to embrace that. And being an older citizen out there, you really just need more recovery, take it easy, but you can have those good quality days too. But you really need to have more recovery than what we did. You know, if these people did a lot of running in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, they need more recovery now. But we cannot let age get in the way. It is really, you just to adjust to what happens in your, like me in my mid 60s. But you know, I meet a lot of people I raced against 40 years ago, and they always say, oh my God, you're still doing races. I don't run anymore because I slowed down so much. And I can honestly say I enjoy running now more than ever. And it has nothing to do with the speed. It's the joy. And I think I took it for granted when I was younger. I don't take a step for granted now. So I think if you look at it that way and just, you know, be cool with slowing down, be cool with just being out there. And I also have a lot of people that say to me, they see me out on this rail trail that's in my community, and they always say, oh, I want to be running when I'm your age. I hear that all the time when I'm out there running. And I take that as a compliment. Some people say, you know, they think they're making fun of me because I'm old. But I feel like that when I meet someone like, you know, like Jeff, who's 10 years older than I am. And, you know, I meet runners in their 80s and they're still out there. Those are people I thrive to be. So we got to stick to it. We must be smarter. And because we're older, we should have more knowledge and wisdom because we've been around a lot longer, and just be smart about it. More recovery is the key.
Well said. Well said.
And walk running is going to help you out. I mean, it really will keep you on the game longer.
Yes. Kelly?
Thank you. So Debbie McWright shares that she has comrades on her bucket list, and she would love to hear some comments or advice about running that.
Sure. So Comrades, it's the oldest ultra in the world, the largest ultra in the world. It's also 56 miles. They call it a marathon, but it's 56 miles. It's in the beautiful country of South Africa. And I tell people all the time, it is my favorite road race or running race or any kind of race out there. Comrades is something, you know, a lot of people, when I did it in 2010, we did a big story on Runner's World. We did a whole video series. So a lot of people found out about Comrades that didn't know about Comrades. A lot of people in the States. And, you know, they went to do Comrades, and then they would send me a message saying, I did Comrades because I saw your story. And I, you know, everyone who sent me a message always said it is the greatest race. I always fear that someone's going to go there and not think it's a great race like I do, but it's never happened. And the reason why Comrades is a great race, you know, during apartheid, or actually in the early days of apartheid in South Africa, they didn't allow the Black citizens to run Comrades. They didn't give them the opportunity to run. They were banned from doing the race. And then what happened, they started the white citizen runners in South Africa. It was not an international race years ago. It was all just South Africans. And the South African runner said, hey, you got to allow the Black citizens to run. If you don't do that, we're not going to run. And if we don't run, you don't have a race. So basically, you're going to allow Black citizens into this race. And that's what happened. And as many of you know that are very familiar with our sport of running, all of a sudden, what happened? Black citizens started winning the Comrades Marathon. They were revered at the highest level in the country of South Africa, because winners of Comrades, you know, it's much more revered than the Boston Marathon or New York City Marathon. It is a national, historic event in South Africa. And so these people became really famous, Black citizens during apartheid, which just did not happen. And then, you know, apartheid gets abolished in '93, and then the race really flourished with a lot of Black citizens. And I remember when I was in South Africa, and I talked to a lot of the Black citizens of South Africa, a lot of the Black runners, and they told me that when they did Comrades during apartheid, they felt like when they were out there running, they felt like apartheid didn't exist. So if they were only out there for 6 hours, some of the faster runners, some of the people 11, 12 hours, thinking that as evil as apartheid was, that it could abolish apartheid, even just for 6 hours or 12 hours. That is the power of our sport. And when I did Comrades and talked to all those Black citizens in South Africa, and they told me their story, how they felt, you know, that running Comrades made them free and abolished apartheid even when it existed. I thought, wow, if a sport is powerful enough to abolish something as evil as apartheid, that is a sport I want to do the rest of my life. And I've only had that opportunity one time to run Comrades, but it changed me forever. It is a very powerful race. So in your running history, I mean, can you imagine a 56-mile race has been run every year since 1921? And I only know of one runner that went over there thinking it actually was a marathon distance, because it's called the Comrades Marathon. And he got on the bus to head to the start, and the bus ride is about 60 miles from downtown to get you out to the start, 56 miles away to go on a highway, and makes a little bit longer than the race course. And after like 2 hours on the bus, the guy said, "Where are we going?" And they said, "To the start." And he goes, "Well, how does it take 2 hours to drive 26 miles? And they're looking at the guy like, this race is 56 miles. And he said, they call it a marathon. He had no clue. So he had his longest run of his life that day. And he found out the Comrades Marathon is actually 56 miles or 89 kilometers by their standard. They go by kilometers. But please do Comrades. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly, what's next?
Of course, we have a lot of questions that have come in about the Yasso 800s.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those things.
Yes, I'm sure you've maybe heard something here or there about it. Sherry Witt and Mark Van Sant, who are both of our program directors, wanted some information, and they're specifically getting some questions about prediction and age. So questions around, you know, is it still an accurate predictor as people get older?
Yeah, that is a great question. Yeah. First off, Amby Burfield was the one who named them after me, because I used to do this workout 10 times 800, 400 meter recovery. And in my younger days, it really did what I would average in 10, 800 meters on the track. would equal my marathon time. Of course, the 800 meters are in minutes and seconds, your marathon time in hours and minutes. But that, you know, if you want to run a 2:40 marathon, I was out there running 10 800 meters in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. But back then we did higher mileage. Everyone did high mileage, every marathoner. You know, every marathoner I knew in the late 70s, early 80s, everybody ran 120 miles a week. I thought I was a slacker because I ran like 110 miles a week. I just couldn't do 120. I would get injured. So I backed off to like 100 to 110. But I just remember, you know, that the workout worked for me. It really did help me with my fitness level and predict my marathon time if it was a normal weather day and things like that. But as I get older, I don't get to the track these days. But I do hear from runners that still do, and they still say it works. Like I have people that do the workout that are in their 60s, 70s, and they swear by them. So I don't know how the Yasso 800s became so popular. Amby Burfoot, who named them after me, was convinced I had such an unusual last name. And he said, this workout's going to stick because it's real easy to do. People can understand it. And we want to get people on the track so they'll get faster. And that's how the whole thing started in Runner's World back in 1993. But I started doing the workout in like 1979. But my favorite Yasso 800 story is I was in a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon. And I'm sitting there working on my computer, drinking coffee. And this woman walks into the coffee shop and she recognized me and she said, hey, you're Bart Yasso. And I smiled at her and said, yeah. And I thought she was gonna, you know, sit down and talk to me about running or whatever. And she said real loudly in this coffee shop, I curse your name every Wednesday. And the whole coffee shop went silent because I wasn't in a group of runners. And, you know, there were people in this coffee shop looking at me like I was an evil person. And she walked right over and got in the coffee line, didn't walk towards me, but she pointed at me and said, like, she cursed my name every Wednesday. So this coffee shop's really quiet. Everyone's staring at me thinking I'm some evil person. Now, thank God, after she got her coffee, she came over and talked to me. And I said, do you understand that everybody in this place thinks I'm an evil person because of what you said? And we just had a great conversation. It was a really funny moment that I remember greatly. But I tell people, it is fun having a workout named after you, but it's not based on science. It was really just this thing that I found in my training logs, this correlation, and it really did work for me. But I don't know if it would work for me today, to be quite honest. I don't think it would because I don't do that much, that kind of mileage anymore. So I think if I would hope I could pull off running 10 800s these days. I don't know if I could or not. I would have to go to the track and test it out. But it is harder in your older age, there's no doubt about it. So I don't know if the correlation is really there. I'm not sure.
Great story. Great story. And the story behind the story is also important too. Kelly, you got another question?
I do. And this is from Kathy Schaefer. She says, hi, Bart. I miss seeing you running with Team VARC. I've moved to Florida and exercising more. She signed up for her first half in the fall. Do you consider aqua jogging as part of training? And I know, Jeff, you can weigh in on this as well.
Man, if I had a pool that I could run in every day, I would run in a pool every day. I do run in a pool when I can, and I like to run in deep water. I don't use a vest or any flotation. I like to do it without devices, and I exaggerate my stride with both my legs and my arms. And I find if I don't have a flotation device that I really have to run quickly because otherwise I'll sink. So it really keeps me moving. And if I go out on a run, I don't have a real long stride like I used to have because of my age. And, but when I get in a pool, I can really exaggerate my stride, and it really helps with my flexibility and strength. And it just feels great. I mean, I would do it every day. I don't like to go to, I haven't been to the gym since they closed, and I haven't been to a YMCA, but if I was going, I would. I've been to a little community pool that's part of a development that I live in. that I can access, but I would do it every day if I had access to it.
Well, we actually teach that at our Tahoe retreat during the summertime. We're not
Yeah.
going to be doing it this summer because of that. But what I found, Bart, is that if you do the running in the water regularly, your form tends to become smoother. And this was identified by a biomechanics expert in running who said that because of the resistance of the water, your legs find a more efficient way to move. And this carries over when you get on dry land too. There are a number of other innovations you can do, as you were doing, Bart, by doing some particular leg exercises that will strengthen certain muscle groups that you don't get strengthened when you run.
Right.
The other thing is during the summertime, water running can take the place of an outdoor run. And so you're in a cooler environment if it's a hot day. So there are a lot of benefits to it. Thanks.
And I do a combo of running in like 7 feet of water where I really just exaggerate my stride and use my arms and legs, exaggerating to keep moving back and forth. And then sometimes I'll go in water like 4 feet deep, 4.5 feet deep, and then run back and forth. And I feel that keeps me on my toes and really makes you push. And it's resistance. It's hard to do. And it's a great workout.
Kelly, have you got another question?
We do. This question, I think, maybe is something that's top of mind for a lot of people, and it's asking about after being, after having so much time off from running, as a lot of people have had during this time, is running a half marathon by the end of the year something that is realistic?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually just got that question this week, and the bottom line is that there have been a lot of people who, for all the reasons you can possibly imagine, have not been running as much as they usually do. And this particular person had taken 2 months completely off, but got inspired to try to do something at the end of the year. And that's one of the great things about this Charge training program, because it leads you step by step towards the end of the year half marathon. What is your take, Bart, on being able to do that?
Absolutely. By the end of the year, be able to do a half. Just start out, come back slowly. The thing we don't want, and Jeff, you work on this all the time, we want people to be injury free. So you just can't say, oh, I lost all these miles, I'm gonna, do it all in the next 2 months. That's not the way you look at it. You just take little gains. You start running, you do the walk run little by little, add on mileage little by little, and you'll be fine. You'll be back up. If you can get up to 10 miles doing run walking, you will easily do a half marathon. I always tell people, people always ask me, they always say, I only went up to 20 miles in my training. Am I really going to finish this marathon? Or they're doing their first half and they say, I only got up to 9-10 miles in my training. I'm afraid I'm not going to make it to 13.1. And I was telling when I did that race as a work assignment, the Badwater 146-mile race in Death Valley in July, when it's 120 degrees. I remember being at the start of that race, and I'm not that dumb. I knew this in advance, but it really sunk in when the race director said, he had this little starter pistol. I said, 1 minute to go to the start of the Badwater 146. And that 146 went through my head, and I was like, wow, I never ran past 26.2 in my life. This race is exactly 120 miles longer than I've ever run. And, it was a scary thought for about 2 seconds. And then I thought, okay, all the running I did in my life, this is why I did it. You just keep it real, keep it fun, stay focused, and you will be at that finish line. I remember saying that thought in my head, and then, the starter pistol went off, and I had no problems running 146 miles. Of course, I was a lot younger then, but it was, but that's the example I use to show how much you can do. It's a lot of it is up here. You can easily do a half marathon at the end of the year.
So it is possible to finish a half marathon by the end of the year, but maybe not 140.
No, you don't want to do 146 miles. That was
okay.
You can do that vicariously. There's videos out on the Badwater 1:46, and there's a movie Running on the Sun. That race is better done vicariously. Trust me.
Amazing.
I've done it.
Well, Kelly, any other questions?
We do have one more. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but one question came in from a YouTube viewer from Arlene. She says, what do you think of the increase in interest for ultra running races? It seems like the 50K is the new marathon.
Yeah, there is a lot of interest in trail running and ultra running. And I think it's the sport changes, and trail running and ultra running are really popular right now. There's still small numbers in the big picture compared to marathon finishers or half marathon finishers, but there is interest in it, and I think it's a good thing. I just, being out on it, I do more trail running than road running, and I love trail races. 50K is a fun distance to start, and that you get the taste of the ultra scene, and it is a very friendly, family, welcoming kind of group of people that go out there and do these races. And it's basically, people are intimidated by the 50K, but I always tell them there's like a picnic every 4 miles. They set up these elaborate aid stations every 4 miles with fruit and so much good food and cakes and pies. And I said, you just run to the next picnic and eat a little picnic and then go to the next picnic, and eventually you end up at the finish line. It's all good. They're really fun to do.
Well, I will have to have a counterpoint to that from the health standpoint.
Yeah.
My wife, Barb, was diagnosed about almost 2 years ago with AFib, and she is under the care of a cardiologist who looks at the research every month and just scours it for research on running and health and the benefits and so forth. So at a recent checkup, when Barb came in, he said, oh, have I got something to talk to you about? I've been looking through the research, and let me tell you, the research on the health benefits from running marathons is quite significant and very, very positive. So if you want to do marathons, you can keep on doing it. Ultra marathons, not so much. More cases of sudden death, significantly so, less life expectancy, a lot of other problems as a result of that. So, doing an occasional ultra marathon is certainly not a problem, but doing it on a regular basis has been shown to have some negative aspects. So let's savor it and just not get too obsessive about the ultra stuff.
I agree with you on that, Jeff. I mean, you do one or two, occasionally do one. It's a fun thing. It's a cool experience, but I would agree. And scientific data is what we have to follow. I mean, we're not.
Yes.
Experts on the scientific, or I'm certainly not on the scientific part of it. So I believe in behind the scientist, and whatever they say, I follow.
Well, Kelly, got anything else?
Just a few, last minute reminders for all of you as we wrap up with this town hall. First, of course, thank you so much, Bart, for being here with us. It's so special to spend an hour with you and hear all of your great stories. And for those of you always looking to stay inspired and motivated, there's so much that Jeff has to offer. So be sure that you are tapping in and tuning in to all of the fun sessions with the Charge Running Galloway program, which I have to say has changed my weekly runs. I don't think I'm ever going to run without Charge Running. And I'm like, who needs music? What is music? Like, I'm all about Charge Running. So it has definitely kept me motivated. I am so excited for the launch of this program. Also with your Fit You classes, the running schools that are virtual so people can join in from anywhere without traveling. As well as the retreats that are planned later on in the fall. All of you can keep an eye out on our Facebook page, on the jeffgalloway.com website for all of these sessions that can help you keep motivated and keep moving throughout the rest of the year. I do want to point out that our next town hall is scheduled for September 5th with another interesting guest. So make sure that you mark your calendars. And we said that we were going to pick one lucky viewer to win a free spot in your upcoming running school if your question was read online during the town hall. So Arlene M., that winner is you, and I am going to type my email in the chat for you so you can reach out to me and I can get you that spot. Congratulations.
All right.
Jeff,
That town hall is actually going to be on August 15th. So
August 15th. Okay.
we really look forward to seeing you, Arlene, and anybody else who would like to join. There still are slots open for that. It's 3 hours and it gets into every aspect of the Galloway program.
Wow.
Do Betsy or Amy, you have any last minute statements on charge running?
Well, we are just so excited to welcome you Galloway runners into the Charge Running app and really change the way that you run. You thought your running was great before, it gets even better. We are connected. No one has to run alone. And we're gonna have a whole lot of fun preparing for this race, moving forward together. So take a look at chargerunning.com. Email me, Betsy at chargerunning.com, or Amy at chargerunning.com with any questions. And all of the information is at jeffgalloway.com. You guys can sign up and join us. Come try class.
Thank you. Thank you. And Bart, we sure do appreciate you being with us. You are always just full of good stories and lots of wisdom. And we just look forward to staying in touch.
Yes, I miss seeing you. We would normally be heading to Alaska in a couple of weeks for
Yes.
hang out together at the race in Anchorage, but
Well, hopefully next year.
yes.
And all of you, thank you for joining. We are here to help you. This is an unprecedented time, and a lot of us have motivation issues. We're here to show you that there's a whole lot of folks out there behind you and supporting you. Please let us know if we can help. My direct email address is jfg@jeffgalloway.com. I'm there for you. Let me know if I can help you. So on behalf of all of us at Galloway Productions, Bart Yasso, the Charge Running folks, Kelly, Chris Twiggs, who directs our customized Galloway training, let's get out there and move our feet and turn on our brain. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Good work.